Difficulty in capturing the little brown bat. There are a few characteristics of the little brown bat that are important for understanding the efficiency of different capture methods. They have a small body size, they eat insects, and they also have a slower than average flight speed. They roost in caves and buildings, and they rely on echolocation to maneuver about. The females also tend to be more social than the males are. The females will roost in large groups together when they are reproductive, while males will roost by themselves or in small groups. The problem is that there are a number of different methods to catch the little brown bat, but they all have shortcomings that limit their capture success. The different methods include using unbaited mist nets that are baited with an acoustic lure, harp traps, capture at roost site with harp traps, and then capture at roost site with handheld mist nets. The first method I will be covering involves mist nets. These can be unbaited or they can be baited with acoustic lures. Here I will go over the pros and cons of unbaited mist nets. The pros are that they are good for capturing slower flying species. This is important to remember because the little brown bat has a slower than average flight speed. Mist nets can also be placed at differing heights, either closer to the ground or higher up in the canopy. They are also effective in a variety of different weather conditions. The cons are that bats use echolocation calls to detect the nets and avoid them. This also helps them learn the location of the nets and avoid them in the future. Little brown bats commonly use echolocation to maneuver around space, so this is important to remember when using mist nets. They also give bats a risk of injury when being removed from the nets, and they can cause bats a lot of stress. Here I'll go over the pros and cons of mist nets that are baited with an acoustic lure. First of all, they have the same pros and cons as unbaited mist nets. Additionally, a pro is that the chances of capture increase for highly social species, such as females of little brown bats. The con of this is that since females are more social than males, this method is probably only more effective for females. The next method I will evaluate are harp traps. These usually have 1 or 2 banks of fishing line. The bats will encounter these fishing lines and hopefully eventually fall into the collection basket where they can be collected by researchers later on. The pros of harp traps are that they are about 10 times more effective at capturing small to medium-sized bats than mist nets are. Little brown bats are small-bodied, so this could be an effective capture method. They are also good for more restricted situations, such as in dense vegetation. And bats don't get entangled in the lines of harp traps. This allows for easier collection. The cons of harp traps are that harp traps. The catching area of harp traps is not as large as that of mist nets in comparison. Also, since harp traps are low to the ground, many bats will fly right over and won't get captured by the trap. The next methods I will evaluate are capture at roost sites. You can use harp traps or handheld mist nets to capture at roost sites. For using the harp trap to capture at roost site, there are the same pros and cons as harp traps. Additionally, there are some pros. Harp traps are good in restricted situations, such as at cave entrances, where there could be a roost inside. This also helps researchers target specific species of bats within a roost. Now I will go over the pros and cons of using a handheld mist net to capture at the roost site. The pros are that the nets can be altered to target specific roost structures. They can also block potential escape routes, and this will boost capture success. Not only are they good for caves, but they're also good for buildings and mines. Little brown bats also like roosting in buildings, so this is important to know. Similarly to using harp traps at capture roost site, this targets specific species of bats within a roost. Now for the cons, again, this may be better for only females, not the males, because the males roost more independently or in small groups. Capture success will increase if there are more individuals present, such as in reproductive females. How to address the problem. Capture success is very species specific. The methods should be catered towards the attributes of little brown bats. This can be accomplished by altering traditional methods. An example would be adding an acoustic lure for harp traps as well, since they're efficient for mist nets. We should also combine different methods based on the different situations. At the end of the day, more studies need to be conducted on alternative methods to determine their success. Here is the literature I used to complete this project. Thank you for watching my video. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to leave me a comment.